Sunday, April 12th, 1981.
Right.
Sheila Sharp returned from the next door neighbor's house.
She looked crazy. I just want to let y'all know that. Just off bucks, off rip. She looked crazy.
To her home at Cabin 28 in the Gattor Resorts in California. What the 14-year-old discovered inside the modest 4-room cabin instantly became one of the most dreadful scenes in modern American crime history. It has come to be known as the gruesome Gattor Cabin murders. This is the incident that inspired the movie, The Strangers.
Which I've never heard of. Oh wait, I think I did. Is it on Netflix? I don't know what dancing I was doing. That wasn't dancing. I don't know what that was.
The Sharp family had just moved into Cabin 28 a year before.
You got all that.
Who had just divorced her husband and brought her children from Connecticut to Gattor in Northern California. The 6 of them, 36-year-old Sue, 15-year-old son John, 14-year-old daughter Sheila, 12-year-old daughter Tina, and 10-year-old Rick,
Damn.
5-year-old Greg,
Damn.
were friendly with their nearby neighbors at the Gattor Resort. The night before the murders, Sheila had slept over at a friend's house down the street. John and his 17-year-old friend Dana had hitchhiked to a nearby town of Quincy for a party and returned sometime later that evening. Tina had briefly joined her sister at the neighbors before returning home to her mother, 2 younger brothers, and one of the neighbor boys, Justin Smart, when Sheila returned home early the next morning to find her mother, brother, and his friend bloodied on the living room floor. She bolted back to her neighbor's house. Her friend's dad retrieved the 3 unarmed boys through their bedroom window so they would not have to see the scene. The murders had been notably violent. Investigators were called about an hour after Sheila had discovered her slain family. Deputy Hank Clement was the first to arrive on the scene, and he reported blood everywhere, on the walls, the bottom of the victim's shoes, Sue's bare feet, and the bedding in Tina's room, the furniture, the ceiling, the doors.
She looks familiar. This person right here looks familiar.
And on the back steps. The prevalence of the blood suggested to investigators that the victims had been moved and rearranged from the positions in which they were murdered. Young John was closest to the front door, face up, his hands blood covered and bound with medical tape. His throat was cut. His friend Dana was on the floor beside him, on his stomach. His head was badly damaged as though bashed in with a blunt object, and he lay partially on a pillow. He had been manually strangled. His ankles were tied with electrical wire. Sheila's mother had been covered partially with a blanket, though that had done little to hide her gruesome injuries. On her side, the mother of 5 was naked from the waist down, tightly gagged with a bandana, and her own underwear secured with medical tape. She had injuries consistent with the struggle and an imprint of the butt of an .880 pellet gun on the side of her head. Like her son, her throat was cut. All victims had suffered blunt force trauma by hammer. They also all sustained multiple.
To actually beat somebody to death like that with a hammer, to actually do any type of torture before they die is insane. That would always hurt me. Like, you gonna hit somebody repeatedly with a hammer? You gonna bash somebody's head in the wall? Like, god damn.
Staff wounds. A bent steak knife was on the floor. A butcher's knife and a claw hammer, both also bloodied, were side by side on a small wooden table near the entry into the kitchen. It would take the police hours to realize that a 4th victim, Tina, was missing.
Botched? I say that right?
When it was eventually discovered that Tina Sharp was missing, the FBI arrived on the scene. The sheriff at the time of the murders, Doug Thomas, and his deputy, Lieutenant Don Story, were not initially able to discern an apparent motive. The murders at Ketty Cabin 28 appeared to be random acts of cruelty. The strangest thing is that there is no apparent motive. Any case without an apparent motive is the toughest to solve. Further, the home did not indicate forced entry, though the
God, is this a real photo? Because them blue ass jeans ain't nothing to mess with. Hell no. Them blue jeans tight as hell. But they also look baggy. Why am I focused on his jeans?
did recover an unidentified fingerprint from a handrail on the back stairs. The cabin telephone had been left off the hook, and all of the lights had been shut off as well as the drapes closed. More confounding is that 3 youngest boys were untouched and allegedly unaware of the events, even though a woman and her boyfriend in the cabin next door awoke around 1:30 a.m. to what they described were muffled screams. Unable to discern where they were coming from, they returned to bed. However, though, 3 boys initially fled.
You returned to bed after hearing this? I can't do that for long periods of time. But you hear multiple yells sounding like they muffled, and you don't go back to sleep. You crazy. You got the clock gene, and you just don't know it yet.
That have slept through the massacre.
How the hell?
Ricky and Greg's friend Justin Smart did later say that he saw Sue with 2 men in the house that night. One reportedly had a mustache and long hair, and the other one was clean shaven and short hair, but both in glasses. One of the men had a hammer. Justin reported that John and Dana entered the home and argued with the men, which resulted in a violent fight. Tina was then allegedly taken out of the cabin's back door by one of the men. Allegedly, a lot of potential evidence was collected at the scene, but because this was pre-DNA testing, very little helpful information was found at this time. Sheriff Thomas called the Sacramento Department of Justice, which then sent 2 special agents from their organized crime unit, not homicide, which struck many as odd. Immediately, the 2 lead suspects were Justin Smart's father and the Sharps' neighbors, Martin Smart, and his house guest.
I'm locking up everybody on sustenance, regardless if we had something to do with it or not. And I don't care how old you I don't care how old you are. If you're within 6 miles of what went down, I'm locking you up on sustenance. You're a witness. I'm locking you up because of that. Well, that's 2 right there. Right? I guarantee you nobody gonna have on Adidas within that 6 mile radius of the club shit. So that's 3. That's 3. You know? It's a 4th one, but I just can't. Yeah. But that's 3 right there. That's 3 strikes. 3 strikes and you out. So with that being said, you getting a minimum of 26 years without no chance of parole, right? And, between 26 years and a maximum of 1,000 years. You know what that means? That means that when you die in prison, like if you get birth, or if you got family, before you got locked up, let's say you got family, right? And where am I going with this? Let's say you got family, right? And you get locked up. Anybody that shares that last name, I don't even care if they're a distant cousin. Anybody that's related to you in any form, shape, form, whatever, everybody that's related to you is going to do time. You could have a fresh born baby in a family. They doing time. Just everybody's doing time for generations until that 1,000 years comes up. And even then, you're not getting out until,
Ex-convict John Bowe, who was known to have connections to organized crime in the area. Both men had been seen in suits and ties behaving oddly in the bar that night before.
Oh, yeah.
Martin Smart later told the police that he had a hammer that matched the one discovered, and also that his hammer had gone missing shortly before the murders. Later that year, a knife was recovered in a trash can outside the Katy General Store. Authorities also believe this item is to be linked to the crimes. It would be another 3 years after the Katy murders that Tina was found.
Jesus.
A man discovered a human skull in the adjoining Butte County, about 30 minutes from Katy in Plumas County. Near the remains, detectives also found a child's blanket.
That's a big ass forehead. I'm probably not the one to talk, but Jesus Christ.
A blue nylon jacket, a pair of jeans with a missing back pocket, and an empty surgical tape dispenser.
A missing
With
back.
that, the remains of Tina Sharp had been found, which made the crimes committed on April 11th or 12th, 1981, a quadruple homicide.
God damn.
Meanwhile, Sheriff Thomas had resigned from the investigation 3 months in, and he took a job instead at the Sacramento DOJ. His handling of the case in retrospect would be considered disastrous at best and corrupt at worst. The Sharps' home was demolished in 2004.
I hope so.
Remarkably, the tape of the anonymous tip regarding Tina was found sealed in case files, untouched by Plumas County Sheriff's Department until 2013, when the case was reopened with new investigators, Plumas Sheriff Greg Hogwood and Special Investigator Mike Gamberg. In 2016, Gamberg located a hammer believed to be one of the murder weapons in a dried-up pond in Katy. Further, it came to light that Marilyn Smart, Marty's wife and mother of Justin, had left her husband on the day of the murder discovery. Afterward, she provided Plumas County's Sheriff Department with a handwritten letter sent to her and signed by her estranged husband. It read, "I've paid the price of your love, and now that I've bought it with 4 people's lives, you tell me we are through? Great. What else do you want?" This letter was not treated as a confession, nor was it followed up on at the time. Even though Marilyn admitted in the 2008 documentary that she thought her husband and his friend Bo were responsible, Sheriff Doug Thomas contradicted this and stated that Martin had successfully passed the polygraph test. It was later confirmed that Martin was close with the sheriff. In 2016, Gamberg met with a counselor at the Reno Veterans Administration. The anonymous counselor told him that in May 1981, Martin Smart had confessed to killing Sue and Tina Sharp. "I killed the woman and her daughter, and I didn't have anything to do with the boys," he reportedly told the counselor. When the DOJ was alerted to this confession in 1981, they dismissed it as hearsay. So who knows what happened to those boys? This is the incident that inspired the movie, The Strangers.
Katy Resort resembles a ghost town, and a tragic event has been transformed into ugly folklore. Disturbing myths passed along in whispers of floating objects in number 28. Even a fable of the word no appearing scratched on the walls.
It's certainly any place was haunted. That one should be, considering what went on there.
We returned
What's
to
going on with your forehead?
Inclined to be interviewed. Because of its bloody past, there are plans to demolish cabin number 28. The current owner wants to build a park there, to begin restoring Katy Resort to its former glory, to lay the past and ghost stories finally to rest. Investigators won't rest until the killers are found. In the Sheriff's Department, there's a timeline of the crime that covers 2 walls.
I do have hope that it will be solved. I do.
The identity of the killers might bring a little more peace to this part of the Sierra. For 20 years later, residents still make it a point to avoid even driving past cabin number 28. In Plumas County, I'm Manuel Ramos.
The Sheriff's Department hopes new DNA tests will reveal the killer's identities. They have sent evidence samples to the Department of Justice for testing and are waiting for the results.
Data files. I feel like heard about this story before. Hell, I might have reacted to this story like a different maybe this is like a different version of it. But one of the things he said, Mr. Nightmare File said is like, what, the mom found her children like clucked up, and she immediately went to like her neighbor. Don't come to me. Please don't come. If you ever find yourself like in a clucked up situation, don't come to me. Please don't. So I'm not gonna do nothing. The most I'll do, if you come into me, right, and you're in a clucked up situation, the most I will do on everything is say, cluck you and haul ass the opposite way. That's it. Because that's ridiculous. But, what is it? The film The Strangers? I feel like I've seen that title before, too. I don't know. But, yeah, I can't. To brutally beat up somebody and, like, that's, I don't know. I can't handle that. You know? I can't handle beating somebody to death. If you're gonna kill me, do it quick and painless. You know, or at least do it, you know. 'Cause don't punch me to death. Don't slice me up. You know? Don't give me death by 1,000 paper cuts and you throw me in a pool full of hand sanitizer. Don't do that. Because best believe, if I get tortured before I die, it was raps. It's raps. I'm coming for that ass. Pause. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you, stay happy. My family. Oh no, my butter.